Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again, back with more HOA stories. In this video, a homeowner association hired bounty hunters to illegally raid my property with the support of local police. Here is what happened, let's dive right into the video. And the first one starts like this. The issue with having a good HOA is that at any point it can drastically shift when an insane tyrant decides to take control. I've been in the same home for over a decade, and aside from the fees that I paid, I never heard a peep from the HOA about anything. I'm far from a perfect human being or homeowner. Sometimes my trash bins stay out for a couple of days if I get busy, or a spot on my lawn does not get watered right and ends up a little patchy. None of these things that I or any old HOA considered to be problematic. Then the tyrant showed up and started handing out HOA fines like they were candy. I was annoyed but couldn't do anything about the ones that technically violated actual rules, like leaving my bins out. But this new HOA regime seemed to want complete uniformity and perfection that no human being could actually accomplish. And more importantly, was nowhere to be found in the guidelines. I was doing exactly what I had to do and not lifting a finger for anything extra. The fines I got that were not fair went into a folder and just went unpaid, with me telling them that I was not gonna pay a fine unless it actually had me in violation of an actual bylaw. Sadly, I think that most people don't know what the rules fully are or how to get a hold of them, and were paying fines blindly, taking advantage of people that just didn't seem to know better in order to line their pockets. I did not hear anything from them about the fines I didn't pay and assumed they just accepted that I was smart and gave up on them. Instead, they went to the local police and told them about me having a ton of unpaid fines as well as a bunch of other lies. They told the police that my home was filled with various weapons and drugs that I was trying to push and sell to the kids in the neighborhood. I did not know any of this until about 3 AM one day when there was a knock on the door from the police. Later I found out that these were police bounty hunters because another lie they told was that I was harboring a criminal in my house. Now for reference, the members of my home are myself, my 87-year-old mom, my wife and my 4-year-old child. When I opened the door, I had guns pointed in my face and was being screamed at and handcuffed. I was too stunned to even speak as I was dragged out and placed on my lawn face down. I did manage to see them going into my home and tried to ask them if they had a warrant to even search my house. I was ignored though, and when I tried to ask again, promptly told to shut up and shoved further into the ground. They dragged my entire family out of the house and put all the adults in handcuffs, and yes, they put an old lady in handcuffs and forced her to sit on the curb outside in her nightgown. And this was winter, so it was really cold outside. From all the screaming and everybody being taken outside, my 4-year-old son was hysterical. He had no idea what was actually going on and just wanted his mom to hold him. A mom that couldn't do anything because she was handcuffed. We sat outside for about 2 hours as they tore the entire place apart, looking for things and questioning us about a person we never heard of and asking where he was. I told him that nobody else lived at the house and I didn't know who they were even talking about. After another hour, we were finally let go after it was decided that we did not know anything. I went into the house and found it just totally wrecked. Every drawer and cabinet had been turned inside out and emptied onto the floor. The couch had a knife taken to it. My guess is they were looking for hidden drugs. I'd never seen such a big mess in my life, and we were in no condition to clean it up. Our wrists were sore and we were freezing and exhausted from being up all night. After a couple of days of reflection, I realized that the actions the police took and the lies the HOA told should not just be allowed to happen. We were traumatized and our home got destroyed because the new HOA president figured if they scared me, I would just go and pay the fines to them. And the reason I knew it had to do with them is because they contacted me the next day. Nothing specific was said, but he made vague threats about me paying my fines or they would call the police again, telling me that the neighborhood can only be safe if we all do our part, and finally that I would not be acting so suspicious if I had nothing to hide. I guess to him not paying unfair fines was considered suspicious behavior. I don't understand this guy, and I doubt anybody reading this will be able to make sense of him either. Suing a person was a concept I understood, but suing an entity like the city or the police department or the HOA was a little bit more confusing to me. Rightfully so, because our lawyer spoke to us for hours about why it was complicated and how they usually just try to use money to make things go away. I told him that I didn't want a settlement, I wanted justice to be done to avoid this happening to another family. I was also suing the HOA for slander against me that caused the police to raid my house in the first place. I wanted to sue them for like misusing the police or something, but I learned that is not something in my power. After my case, if the DA was interested in the HOA president, they would make their own criminal case. It was all very complicated and I hated every minute I had to meet with the lawyers and try to absorb what they were talking about. I'll start with the HOA case because it was a little less complicated. The HOA president was forced by the judge to hand over any police statements they had, all of them about my house and the lies they told, in order to get the police involved in this. When asked about the basis for this, he didn't have anything to say. He never saw me with weapons or drugs, and I argued with my folder of fines that he wanted to just get me back for not paying a ton of fines for rules that didn't even exist. It was clear that he was guilty of slander and intentionally telling lies in order to get the police to come and raid my home. He was gonna have to step down from his position in the HOA as just a start. There was gonna be a thorough investigation into the fines that people paid and which of them were illegitimate. Also looking into his bank statements, because something this shady usually meant that somebody was lining their own pockets with the money. As for the city and police department, I was suing them for mistreatment and my home being entered without a warrant. That of course also applied to the bounty hunters that were working with the HOA and in close connection with the police department. It was only to look into the rooms to see if the person who they were searching for was there. Body cam footage showing them dragging us outside and putting us in cuffs while we were just confused showed excessive force being used. I got to see how they went through my home, destroying everything in their path, and it was horrible to watch. We were treated like criminals with no basis to the claims they were given. I don't know the protocol they are meant to use, just in this state they did not follow it correctly. My lawyer was right that before going to court, the city wanted to try and just give me money to make the entire thing go away. It was honestly tempting, but I knew that the judge would probably grant me something similar, plus have the mistreatment on record if we won. I didn't just want to let them get away with this and have money to be a get out of jail free card. Clearly the city was gonna have to pay me a good amount in retribution. This being for things they destroyed in my home, as well as the emotional trauma we went through because of it. My mother especially was never really the same after that night. If there's one thing nobody wants to see in court, it was an old lady being rough-handled and forced to sit in the cold for hours. It was also the thing that might have made me the most angry about the entire situation. The only thing that could have made me even angrier is if they tried to put my kid in handcuffs too, which I'm glad they had enough common sense to not try and instead just let him stand next to us the entire time. Money was not the only thing, because the bounty hunters and cops were in trouble for basically breaking the law in how they handle things. Police are hard to get fired, and I was expecting them to just get off with something light. They got suspended, which I'm not thrilled about, but at least it was something. The two bounty hunters meanwhile lost their licenses. They had apparently abused the system, so they were no longer allowed to be a part of it. Some might feel bad that two guys lost their jobs, but honestly, if somebody has a job requiring them to carry around a semi-automatic weapon and don't follow the rules, they should lose it in my opinion. It took over a year to have everything sorted out, and even longer before I felt comfortable enough to sit down and write this entire thing out. I'm just glad the HOA president is now gone and there have been no further incidents. I learned that if I get another HOA president like that guy, I'm going to just report them to the city the moment they start handing out fake fines. I don't want to ever go through what I did again if I can help it. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, when I first read this story I was like, what the hell, bounty hunters? Is this Star Wars or something? But then I looked it up and apparently you can really get a license in the United States for bounty hunting. Honestly, when I first heard about this was absolutely unbelievable, but I guess it's really a thing. Anyway, the next one is titled, My SO Used the Police to Abuse Me. And by the way, if you have watched until here and enjoyed the story, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post a comment, because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much. So this one starts like this. I honestly don't know what happened. A couple of days ago, my girlfriend, who I lived with, left our apartment while I was at work, claimed to her family and mutual friends that I'd been physically abusing her, and blocked me on everything. I have no idea what's going on. There weren't any major problems in our relationship that I could see, and we just had consensual sex last night. The very last time I spoke to her before all of this happened, she was perfectly fine, kissed me goodbye before I went to work, and everything was normal. Then I got a call from my dad towards the end of the day, asking me calmly if I've been hitting my girlfriend. I didn't know what he was talking about, and then she told me. I rushed home and she had gotten all of her stuff and is staying either with her family or a friend of hers. My Facebook account is blowing up and I have no idea what to do. None of what is being said is true, and I don't know if people are just playing a cruel joke on me. A few people even mentioned that the police were called, but I haven't heard anything as of yet. The last major argument we had was probably in February around Valentine's Day. We were going through some financial trouble, the stress got to us, and we were both getting upset with each other over petty household things. She was my best friend, the person I could rely on to be there for me, and the person I would be there for always. No matter what, we were definitely planning on getting married. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. Her family had basically accepted me into the family, and I was close with both her mom and her dad. I only called them both once each, neither of them answered my calls. I called my, ex, just twice, no answer. She blocked me on every social media platform of hers that I know of. I asked a couple of friends, but they are being distant with me. Just one-word answers or ghosting me. What the hell is happening here? We'd always been upfront and honest with each other, and our communication was stellar. And now some comments from Reddit. Question: what was your reaction to this? Answer from OP: confusion and then panic. My heart started pounding. At first it was difficult to think. I wanted to try and call her to see what the hell was going on, when I found out she blocked me on everything. I've been walking around with a huge pit in my stomach. Another question: how has your family and your friends reacted to this? As in, how did the conversation with your father go? Did he believe you? What about your best male friend? Answer: my dad calmly asked me if I've been hitting her. I outright denied it. He said, "Are you sure?" That made me upset. Only a couple of friends reached out. Most are sort of staying out of it. I had two friends say, "What the F were you thinking?" before I tried to explain it to them. Over the past few hours, they seemed to warm up, but I don't know. Other friends haven't really been saying anything, just being distant or not responding much at all. I don't really have a best friend, but the one person I would closest describe as such seems to believe me. Just said, "This is really effed up." Another question from the audience: do you or your girlfriend have a history of mental illness? Answer: I don't. As for her, not that I know of. I'm close with her family and I know a lot about her childhood. Serious mental illness sounds like a big thing to cover up. We are both culturally American. Her family is Hispanic though, but have been in the US for 3 generations now. Update. Okay, so this is gonna be a weird update. I'm sorry if you guys thought this was going to be anything interesting. A friend came forward and told me that apparently my dumbass fiancé decided to play a prank on me. She had the bright idea of leaving the house for a couple of days to set up a surprise birthday party for me and set for this weekend. I don't know what the F she was thinking, nor do I even really know the full story yet. She's not really the prank playing type and I guess thought this would be hilarious or something. It looks like a majority of those friends who were acting distant were in on it. After I started being upfront and honest with showing people my texts with her as this sub suggested, one of them told her that this was not cool and that if she did not come clean, then he would. Well, she didn't come clean and he came forward. I guess that's why nobody was answering their texts. Anyway, I texted her and I told her that I knew I asked her what the F she was thinking. She started blowing my phone up apologizing, and she said her prank just went too far and spiraled out of control when it got to social media, and that she did not know how to come clean when she realized that it crossed the line. She also said that she didn't mean to let it come out that I was abusing her, that she just wanted to make it seem like she left me, and that the abuse stuff was a rumor started by some other people who were not in on her joke. I just did not really respond to her. And by the way, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, this woman really deserves an award for probably the worst prank of all time. Who the hell thinks that this was a good idea? Honestly, OP's SO is a complete idiot. Anyway, I left and went to my parents' house before she got back home. My family now thinks that she is a damn moron, so her relationship with them is ruined right before our marriage. So that's great. Our mutual friends are now split in half, with half of them thinking she's an idiot and the other half feeling God knows what about the situation. I am frankly embarrassed and feel stupid for wasting everyone's time and dragging them into my relationship with my fiancé. I don't really know where to go from here. I don't know if I should call off the wedding or postpone it and try to work it out what the hell went through her mind. I'm sorry if this is not the ending to the story you were all hoping for. I'm just having drinks here and will be here all night feeling sorry for myself and answering comments. Update number 2. So I wanna apologize for the bluntness of this post ahead of time, because despite your comments about me being calm and level-headed, I'm actually quite upset about the entire situation, and I feel like me sitting and thinking about it is only marinating this anger and making it more juicy and flavorful. Another update, I spoke to her in person after I posted my update. From her perspective, her original idea was to make it look like she just got mad or something, grabbed a few things and left to her friend's house where she was going to have the party thrown. Her friend has a really nice house that's perfect for a 20 to 30 person get together. She was with her 2 friends and made an off-the-cuff remark when her friend said, "What are you gonna say when he asks why?" And she said, "I don't know, I'll probably tell him that I feel like you got too serious when we had sex," or something like that. Then her other friend who was with her immediately took it to social media without the other 2 girls knowing, and then when they checked their phones later on that day, it was already a dumpster fire. I said, great, all that is understandable, just one question, why did you then block me and then refuse to answer my calls, because that seemed pretty intentional to me. She said because she didn't want to throw her idiot friend under the bus and thought it would all go away if she just threw the party, and she hadn't realized how far it all went so quickly. I thanked her for telling me, and then I called off the wedding entirely. She cried, I cried, it was a damn mess. She asked where we go from here. I told her I don't know, I don't even know if the relationship is over yet, but I know that the engagement is over, and that if I decide to give it another chance at the bare minimum, we need to build my trust for her from the ground up, if not the entire relationship. And now I have to decide if I want that. Do I want to spend another 4 years being undecided? If I'm being honest with myself, I imagine it taking another couple of years before I can trust her again. Do I want to get married and start thinking about having kids at 35, 36, close to 40? I told her that I have a lot to think about. I spoke to her dad last night, we shared a case of beers and had a conversation that lasted about 5 hours. My ex has not spoken to anyone and has basically been locked up in her old bedroom for now. She's been crying a lot. I do believe that she's genuinely remorseful about all of this, which complicates things. Her dad caught wind of the situation on Facebook but learned what was really going on maybe like an hour later. He'd gotten my calls but hadn't returned them because he called his daughter first. She told him and he just did not know what to say to her. He told me that she's not truly stupid, but yet she has a history of sometimes not thinking about things before she says them, and the impact her offhand remarks can have. He said this is the worst it's ever snowballed, but she's had situations in the past where she says something stupid or insulting and does not realize the impact of what she said until hours later when the other person blows up over it. So that's it, I still have a lot to think about. I know a lot of you guys are telling me that I have no balls for not literally tossing her out into traffic and laughing about it or something weird like that, but you have to understand that I still love her and have loved her for a few years now. Right now though, I'm leaning towards moving on, but you're going to have to empathize with me here. As for my reputation, nobody thinks I'm an abuser, it's firmly out there now. Her reputation though took a much more significant and lasting hit. I have not lost any friends except for the idiot social media girl whose reputation also took a severe hit. Nobody called the cops, all the other posts about it have been deleted, everything is good. There's no real need for me to get a lawyer and sue anybody. My family agrees with a lot of you. They are 2 seconds away from slapping me upside my head for not immediately kicking her to the curb. Just give me some time. I'm not gonna make another update because I've already wasted too much of your time with this. And yeah, Ripe Stars, there have been no further updates to this story, but I would love to hear from you what you think about this story. Do you think OP did the right thing here or not? In my opinion, if I would be in OP's shoes, I would definitely not stay together with this person. And of course, I can understand it's hard to call it quits after you've been in a relationship for this long, but honestly, I could not trust this woman anymore. Anyone who does such a stupid joke is completely untrustworthy for me. And it's also not even just a bad joke, it basically shits on anyone who's ever had to deal with domestic abuse and didn't get the help they needed. OP's SO is clearly immature and maybe just stupid. Either way, I would definitely not stay together with this person. Let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah guys, if you cannot get enough of my content, please don't forget to check out my podcast by searching for Ripe Stories on all major podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple or Google Podcasts. Furthermore, you can find bonus content by going to patreon.com/ripeyoutube or by clicking the join button here on YouTube. For a small monthly fee, you will get access to dozens and dozens of exclusive videos you won't find anywhere else. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you again tomorrow.